Hello, everyone. Hello, Christopher.
Hi,
It's nice to meet you again for a webinar connected to extremely important topic dedicated to control plan according to AIAG, the new first revision we have. Let me just check if we are streaming to all the platforms tonight. We are streaming to Facebook, to YouTube, and LinkedIn. So I hope a lot of people will join us and help us with making this webinar, this meeting, important for everyone and interesting by raising different questions. And we'll try to be as much supportive as possible for you. Before we will start, maybe it will be nice that you will say from where are you, and if you're working in the area of quality with your control plans in the organizations, would be very interesting to meet people with us meeting tonight. Who we have? I will display. Oh, we have Romania. Who else? Alejandro. We have Tunisia. Okay. So we are still waiting for people to join. Recently, we had a lot of people, like more than 200. Do you remember, Christopher?
Yeah. Last time I think it was 250, maybe a little bit more than that. So quite a lot of people.
Yes. So we still wait for you to say hello. Unfortunately, we have 10 seconds shift between different platforms, so we may not. We may not see every comments and questions, or even your greetings from your locations directly. But we already see that we have Turkey, we have South Africa. Who else we have? We have Germany. My neighbor. We have Belgium. Great. So I see that a lot of people is joining. We have also US, Michigan. Hello, Steve. Good. Who else is with us? We have Portugal. We have United Kingdom. Christopher, your neighbor.
Yeah, another person. Almost.
Good.
Close.
Good. So I see a lot of people is joining, and we are more and more. I see here that we are a lot of people. Great. I'm extremely happy. Please keep going, joining and saying hello. And let's maybe start slowly because we would like to appreciate that you're spending your evening if you're in Central Europe with us, and we would like to just keep going with the knowledge, dears. Okay, so let me just display my presentation and we can go further. Okay, so this is the control plan. The idea of this webinar was because we have the first historical situation that AIAG decided to split control plan as a separate manual. Yes, before control plan was issued with the second revision of APQP manual, and they were together. And actually it had sense, of course, because advanced quality planning also rely mostly on planning the robust quality. So we had combined this approach of product maturity into the one manual together with control plan. But tonight we will discuss only the control plan itself. So we will just maybe emphasize for you what would be the maybe the novelty of this, what we can meet in this new manual. Okay, before we will start, let us introduce ourselves because not everyone may know QualityWise and myself and Christopher. I am located in Poland and I'm responsible for QualityWise here in Poland, and Christopher joined me in the UK. Together we are we are working with quality management, quality assurance, and we are sharing our knowledge and experience. I have already, I think, 17 years of experience in the automotive industry. So I believe there is something I can share with you. I'm also working as an auditor first and second party in IATF, and I am licensed VDE 6.3 auditor. And of course, I'm working currently as a freelancer, trainer, consultant, and auditor. Christopher, I believe you will introduce yourself the best.
Yeah, hi. So good evening, everyone. So my name is Christopher Scott, and I'm a quality assurance engineering expert. So I've worked the majority of my career in quality assurance engineering in manufacturing for car manufacturing predominantly. I'm currently the head of supplier quality in an automotive OEM. For those who follow me on LinkedIn, you will see which company I work for or will be working for in May onwards. I specialize in supplier product and process development using APQP and PPAP. So I've used this throughout my career and the different versions of them, as well as whatever the specific OEM I worked for at the time and their versions and customer specific requirements. I'm an expert in root cause analysis and crisis management. So this means, when something goes wrong and the management needs someone to go there quite quickly. That's what I did quite a lot in my role in the past. I'm also a first and second party lead auditor in ISO 9001 and IATF from the customer perspective and the supply chain perspective. And I'm also an expert in training with industry. So this is how to train a trainer for standard operating procedures.
Great. Thank you, Christopher. As you can see, I am mostly concentrated on system-wise solutions, and Christopher is really expert in operational quality, yes, and engineering quality. So I believe we have a good synergy tonight to discuss about the control plan. Also, we invite you to meet QualityWise and see how we can support our customers worldwide by providing you training audits and consulting activities. Do not hesitate to visit QualityWise and learn a little bit more about ourselves. But let's start now discussion about the control plan. So first of all, because we need to understand the context, let's start with this, that control plan has some foundation in planning and assuring the quality. So please use the opportunity to write on the chat how it is with the system requirements. Is control plan required, especially control plan by AIAG, required by IATF 16949? Because this is the standard for the automotive quality management system, yes? So how do you feel? Taking into consideration your organizations, your customers, do you use control plan by AIAG, and is it mandatory approach? What are your experiences? In the meanwhile, I see on the chat that we have more and more people joined from different parts of the world. We have more people from Romania, South Africa. We have Peter Jan from Netherlands. Nice to see the people who are known for ourselves. Yeah, so how do you feel with this? Is it a requirement? A straight question. This control plan by AIAG? Or do you use in your organizations completely different approach to assure the control plan?
We're starting to get some answers in, which is good.
Yes, mandatory approach, but not mandatory form. We have no AIAG manual, is customer-specific requirement. Yes, mandatory. Okay, so we see different answers. Pavel is saying CP required from our customers. Okay. Any other views we have? The requirements are mentioned in IATF in Annex M as a recommended template. Okay, so we are closer and closer. Yes. What we have, Walter wrote, yes, it is mandatory and we use the requirement. Okay. And we are using control plans. Great. So we see that more and more people are answering in a similar way. However, this is very specific, mandatory in PPAP, the answer. And we see, and it is the IATF requirement. Okay, no, it is not required. Okay, guys, be precise. The question is control plan by AIAG. So taking into consideration that we are very precise, what would be the right answer? The answer is, of course, and it was a lot of times said by you, that control plan is required by ITF. Of course, we see the requirements in 8511 point, and there was one very, very nice answer. I'm trying to find it to display. Who put this answer? That we have also a certain requirements in the certain place. I can't see it in Annex A. So the answer is, of course, that we have to work with the control plan in our organizations. This is mandatory. There was also nice requirements like depending on the customer, the approach. Like also you said that some form is needed, and I fully agree with you. At least this what we will meet in the Annex A is a mandatory what we have to have in our control plan to assure the right quality level of the process and the product. Okay, so what is exactly in Annex A? Which elements has to be met in the control plan? Why am I asking this? Because it would be good to see if the control plan by AIAG, the new first edition of this manual, will be similar to this, what is required by our quality management system standard. So use please the opportunity on the chat, and which elements shall be in the control plan? Yeah, you don't have to be very detailistic, just the categories. What must be included in the control plan? Probably if you would see the template, you'd know at once what should be as a category. Okay, we have key characteristics. Okay, characteristics referring to what, Pavel? Which characteristics? We have project production phase. What else? Special characteristics. Yes, connected to characteristics. 9 categories. What else? The process, the characteristics, product and process. This is a good, very precise answers. Process parameters, product and process. Good. Special characteristics. Process steps, product and process characteristics. Okay. Pavel is more precise now. Safety.
Very precise.
Okay, but not every characteristic will be connected to the safety. Pavel, bear this on mind, please. Okay, we have here every step in the production, including measurements and reaction plan if parts are not okay. Oh, Kristen is more precise, yes, because we are going further and further with revealing what has to be in the control plan, yes? How to handle non-conformity. Oh, I was waiting for this. I was waiting. Methods of the control, yes. Of course, here we see measurement. This will be connected, yes. FMA connection. It must be connected, but is it taken from the level of the control plan requirements? This has to be considered. And criteria of inspection. Yes. Okay. So generally, I was waiting really for these methods. You're familiarized with this, that of course, product and process characteristics, special characteristics was met. Who said or who did not say about this? How the process on which machines, jigs, devices, the operations,
the equipment,
the
equipment or the facilities, or the processes themselves,
okay. Good. I really like your answers, especially if you are so many people. So the link to the process flow. Yes, of course, the documents needs to incorporate together, like flowchart, and FME, yes, reaction plans. Okay, great. Guys, why we are asking this? Because we really would like to emphasize the elements which actually are under the Annex A covered, and in fact they are the source of the requirements. And if we are not thinking about this to meet all of these requirements, we may simply have a non-conformity. That's why our role is also to make you aware about this, that we have this Annex A, because honestly, from my perspective as a trainer, I observe that people are not always aware that in IATF we have actually Appendix A and Appendix B. What's more, Appendix A is divided into 1 and 2. We are presenting here the second one because the first one is indicating the phases only when control plan shall be prepared. Okay, and we have also the sanction interpretation 25, which is saying about this common controls plan designation. So you have the possibility to create a families, yes. Okay, let's do a deep dive now in this control plan manual overview. Maybe Christopher, I was talking a lot, so this is now for you.
Yeah, I will give you a rest. So thanks, Agatha. So, so in the control plan manual overview, what's been introduced is that before it was a form, but now we're looking at separate sections. So in chapter 0, there's the introduction. Chapter 1 is the requirements and guidelines. Chapter 2 is how to develop the control plan, which is going to help a lot of people how to do that. It will actually tell you how to do that. And then chapter 3 is the control plan stages. And then chapter 4 is the effective use of the control plan itself. Under each requirement for chapter 0, we're looking at clarify the linkage to the APQP processes. So the control plan is a living document. It's not something which you do one time for the customer and that's it and you file it away. It is a live document, so it needs to be regularly updated when there are changes to your process or product. And then we've got the clear requirements for key topics. This is for chapter 1. So the common weak points or harmonized customer-specific requirements. For chapter 2, we're looking at expanded guidance with emphasis on the process approach. So this is for the development of the control plan. For chapter 3, it's the importance of each stage in the control plan stages. Again, harmonized customer-specific requirements for safer launch, which is a topic that we're going to discuss later on in the presentation in the webinar tonight or today. And then we've got the maximized control plan effectiveness in the context of a holistic quality management system. So it's the linkage to the quality management system, which is another name for it is a business management system, and how that links to the actual operating of the business for the product.
My question to the people who are tonight with us: did someone of you have the chance to read already the new manual? Because when I read this new manual, I had the feeling that we have really knowledge which is precisely put in the order, yes, in a certain order with the straight clarifications. However, still we have a lot of recommendations, like in this chapter even 1, yes. This is just for the clarification, yes. Okay, let's keep going then. Changes and updates. This will be interesting. Christopher, characteristics management.
Yeah, so starting with the first updates, which is the special characteristics identification and classification. So it dives a bit deeper into the requirements. So I know a lot of the people in this call will be from the supplier side. So they're trying to understand how does the customer think and how do they cascade their requirements within their supply chain. So the whole point of this manual is going to align you and harmonize better with the customer, because it's lessons learned, it's best practice from all of the bigger OEMs. Another topic is pass-through characteristics identification and management. So these are the things that can't be detected by the end user. I'm not going to go too far in detail about what that definition is, but there's a stronger emphasis on this and identifying it on the control plan as well. That needs to be identified by the supplier and the customer. The next change is addressing the common weaknesses. So these are things like error proofing confirmation, volume-based sampling frequency. What does this mean? I'm going to quickly talk about it once I've went on to the reaction plan documentation. So moving back to volume-based sampling frequency, if you have, if you're sampling every hour, for example, every hour on the hour, and you build 100 components within that hour, if your process has the capacity of doubling, you could have 200 parts pass through within the same hour, which means that you've got another extra 100 parts which aren't checked. So the whole point of the volume-based sampling frequency is that you have specified exactly how many components you're going to check, regardless of the speed of the process. Your process could slow down, it can increase, or it could stay the same. But every 100 parts, for example, you will always check 101, 200, 201, and so on. You'll keep going at that point. So it's just so you don't have an influx or deflux of components. That's the point of it, really. So
I
moving
think
on
this
to,
will be. I
yeah,
think if I can disrupt you, volume-based sampling frequency will be a challenge for the organizations, really, because we are used to working under the stable conditions
yeah,
of the control methods. Yes.
yes.
So, in my opinion, this will be a challenge. Okay.
Yeah, I think for some, I think it's linked to process capability as well. So
Mhm.
if for those who are thinking, well, how do I link this? How do I demonstrate that I don't need to sample as much? That's based on several things like your MSA. It's based on your capability as well, your process capability. So the probability of you having defective product, that's what you need to base it on.
Mhm.
So moving on to the next one. Clarification. So this is to do with directed supply information gathering activities. So this is where your customer is specifying, you're directed by suppliers, you need to buy from this particular person, and so on. And then the other final topic of clarification is safe launch, including the exit criteria. What does that mean? And we'll move
Yeah.
on to that a little bit later on.
Okay. So safe launch, action, and responsible. This is something which at the glance we can see already as a main change, even if we would like to just compare the template. So probably you are familiarized with this, what you can see right now here, the template which is taken from the second edition of the APQP manual, because as I mentioned before, there was a source of the requirements besides the IATF, of course, yes. And this is this template. However, now the change in the template is that, of course, we have additional phase, yes, not phase, the idea of the control plan, yes, for the safe launch, yes, and also the reaction plan. Before, there was just a reaction plan, but now, as you can see, you need to address the action, how you will react if your process is not stable and capable, and your product are not meeting the requirements simply. What's more, you need to address the owner, yes, who will be the responsible person. And if you, now the action, if you will write something so easy like notify the supervisor, will it be enough? So how, after the notification of your supervisor, the information will be effectively used, and how you will protect the quality, yes, how you assure the quality. This is the question. So, and this also will require from us a little bit change in the thinking of the reaction. However, as a recommendation, you can also use here the way you already have defined in your organization, taken from different other documentation, like, for instance, working instructions, if you have and the instruction how to react for the non-conformity, yes. So this might be one of the example of this change, yes. Okay, let's keep going. What is safe launch? Yes, Christopher, you said that you would like to discuss more on this tonight. So, what is safe launch? How will you, our dear guests, define safe launch?
Yeah, I'd like to know how many people in this chat has experienced safe launch. So some of these customers you'll be working for, some of these big car manufacturing OEMs will use safe launch. So I can tell you straight away from one of my previous companies that I worked for, Nissan Automotive Manufacturing, globally they use the term safe launch. They use it. It's called Shoki Redo in Japanese, and that is for SOP +3. So it'd be interesting to see how many people have worked with this terminology with their customers, or are they aware of it? Or what is the requirements? If you do know, what are the requirements imposed on you by the customer, or what's agreed with the customer?
We have here a nice comment. Oh my God, it will not fit again. One page. This is funny comment. Okay, I'm still waiting for your understanding of the safe launch. No idea about it. I hope we'll help you to understand this tonight. SOP, yes. SOP, it cannot be only connected to SOP. So we can see more answers. We have even special form for the safe launch internally. Of course, the approach of the organization itself, like you defined this. What else we can see? I understand that production phase goes after a safe launch in sequence, isn't it? What does this mean in sequence? I didn't understand. Well, Alejandro, can you precise your answer? The firewall is requested by several customers. Quality wall, okay. Common phrase after SOP 3 months. Always 3 months, the question now? What else? No problem with SOP along 6 months. Oh, we had 3 months, now 6 months. What else? 6 months in
Another
SOP.
6 months, yeah.
Okay. If organization have a robust escalation procedure for each event situation, what can occur? It can be used as general reaction with responsible person. Am I right? I will mark this as a question for later, maybe to answer. Let's have a look. Extra controls on industrialization. Oh, I like this answer very much. FIOY.
First article inspection.
Yes, but not exactly. It could not be exactly this. EMPB. What is EMPB?
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I also.
That's a new one.
User.
The industry loves it. The industry loves different acronyms, so that'd be interesting to see what.
Sometimes, yes, that's why we use it even when changes. Okay, depends on customer. Sometimes 2 months if requested. Okay, more precise. Wow, SOP plus 180 days, 6 months. Okay, again, we have 6 months. And run to the production or similar conditions like serial production. Okay, 3 months. If no findings, if you have findings, you will have to expand until your fixed causes. Oh, I also like it. Okay, Christopher, maybe I will give you the voice to precise this safe launch. We have really very nice answers.
We've had some good answers, but you can see there's different
Es
versions.
Teile Bemusterung. Okay, Christian, thank you very much.
Thank you for explaining.
Yes. Okay, Christopher, just keep going with the safe launch.
Yes, let's continue. But good answers. It just goes to show you that people have different experiences with different industries on where they are within the supply. Yeah. So what is safe launch? So the safe launch is a collective idea from the automotive OEMs intended to prevent the outflow of defects at the start of production. So this is a harmonized approach. When we move on to the next part of it, exit criteria typically includes no defects shipped to the customer within 90 days of SOP or detected by a firewall at the supply and manufacturing site. So lots of good answers there, very much aligned to this. But again, I've said exit criteria typically includes, it all depends on what you've mutually agreed with your customer. Some suppliers I've worked with are stricter than the OEM requirement because they don't want any failures getting to the customer within 6 months or 12 months. It depends on the stability of the process and the likelihood you're going to have a failure, because some of your customers might give you a PPM target if you produce that many components, or they might say you might be allowed to, in theory, as a target, ship 1 defect per month. But because suppliers shouldn't work to that, really, you should be aiming for a zero defect culture to the customer. You shouldn't be giving them problems. And the idea is that you are mutually agreeing with the customer what the requirement should be. So, and for the next stage of this, Agatha, the key point is that you need to always consult with the customer to understand their requirements. So don't just take the APQP or the control plan requirements or the IETF ones alone. It will always say customer specific requirements. And these are not just the ones that are published, through the manual and through the websites. These are the ones that are in their supplier quality manuals. These are the ones that are in their terms and conditions. you need to talk to the customer about their specific requirements with their supplier quality engineers.
I believe we had different timing given by our guests, because simply you may have different experiences with the customers. Yes, especially if you have a big portfolio of the customers, then it might be completely different per each customer. Okay, let's keep going, Christopher. Here, this nice graph, how it is with quality versus time. And this SOP moment of the truth, if the PPAP will be approved. What is happening now?
Yeah, so here what we've got is we've got a timeline. So this initial line is showing that when you launch a new product, especially a new model vehicle, like a new car, whatever that car may be, the customer aims for a higher quality level right before SOP, and they try to maintain that level. But most of the time, when a safe launch is not included, it dips below the expected quality level, which means they've got extra reworks in process, they've got lots of supplier concerns and so on. And when you don't apply a safe launch, not just for the supply chain, but internally for the customer's process as well, you have an overall gap to where the acceptable quality level should be, which means it could be delayed shipments to the final customer who buys the vehicle and so on. It's restricting the customer's ability to be more flexible and ramping up further and further for SOP. The next line, what we show is if you put a safe launch in place and you're using the control plan correctly and firewalls and so on, and you're doing additional inspection and checks, this is going to stabilize and maintain that quality level as what should be intended by the customer and the supplier. So this graphically is showing what a safe launch can do. And as firsthand, I've used this with suppliers. I've used the safe launch principle. I've used safe launch control plans before this edition was launched. So some of you might be thinking, hang on, how has he used this when it's just been released by AIAG? It's just been released because customers like Nissan and other big OEMs were already doing this activity with their supply chain. All they've done is they've harmonized the best practices. That's what they've decided to do, and give you as customers of AIG and using the material for the control plan a better understanding of their requirements. So it definitely works. And the idea of this graph is to show you what we are aiming to do, not just for the customer, we're aiming to stabilize your process as well.
Christopher, what will happen if during the safe launch, which should last, like, for instance, 90 days, we have one day when we really are not meeting the requirement? Then shall we start again a new cycle, 90 days?
Yes. In my experience, yes. You continue until you have a stable criteria. And if you keep failing, then you need to have that conversation with the customer. Is it a one-time event where your process is out of control because your settings has changed on the machine, or you've got a poor maintenance, or because of it's not the design of the product that would be causing that would be process variation. If you have a really bad day, you don't just say it's one bad day, you need to start again, and the timer starts again from that moment. Unfortunately, you need to demonstrate that you are in control, and that first 90 days or 3 months is measuring your process control stability. That's what it's measuring, really. It's a small window in time, really, to be honest, but that's what's going to give the customer and yourself confidence to ramp up further. You might be restricting your output, in terms of manufacturing. You might only be running at 60%. What happens if you're running 100%? You could get more defects. So the reason why you do that is to be more careful.
But also this is connected to the last phase of the APQP, simply because we cannot just close the project after SOP, because we need to learn about the variation present, the sources of this variation influencing our production. Yes, so simply a safe launch is confirming if we know what is happening. Yes, if we have these influences. Okay, let's keep going. Using the safe launch control plan increase the quality level and reduces defects. Of course, always, because this is additional control. Yes, in fact, more robust. Yes, control with sometimes different criteria. It's not connected to the control plan, which will be in the serial production. Yes, there might be something extra for the control. Okay, and now this what I started to talk. This is connected to this APQP timing chart. Yes, control plan stages. Christopher, I will tell. Yes, just tell, please.
Yeah. So whoever has been a part of the previous webinar we had on the APQP, we've repurposed the same timing chart, which is quite useful. But what we see here is the prototype control plan and when it is developed and start, and then it will be reviewed by the customer in between the phase from design, model, prototype to the pilot. The next stage, if we move on to that one, Agatha, please, would be between the pilot and the launch stage, which is called the pre-launch control plan. And you'll see that it's the same control plan, but the controls are evolving. You know, the prototype control plan is going to say it's on a bench. We do 100% checks for this area, very manual. The pre-launch control plan would include things like more process-driven, like an end-of-line inspection, which is more automated. Or, you know, you might have some automatic optical inspection or ICT testing, depending on where you are. Beep checking versus, you know, actual automatic stuff. And then between the pilot and the launch, again, if we look at the next stage, would be the safe launch control plan. And this is run in parallel and developed in parallel between the pre-launch. And you can, as you can see, it creeps past the launch. So it's between the pre-launch and the actual launch itself, because in some cases you haven't got full PPAP approval. So the pre-launch control plan isn't the full approved control plan. You know, the safe launch is moving towards a productionized environment. And then finally, we have the actual production control plan as well between onwards, which is developed whenever there's a change, whenever there's a process improvement and so on, or there's been a customer concern. You're updating the control plan as you go throughout the model life cycle.
Okay. So this was actually everything what we wanted to tell you. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. And if you have more questions, we're, of course, happy to answer them. I was trying to find on the chat some questions already. Let me display this one from Alejandro. This is a nice question, really. I like it. When is the day 1 and day 90 in practice? It depends on the customer, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So it depends on their master project schedule. So if they say day 1 is from the 1st of June, then that would be the first of, that's the start, you know. It all depends on where their launch is, their real SOP, because so a customer's got 2 SOPs, or they'll call it job 1. Depends on which customer you work with. One customer might call it job 1, the other one will call it an SOP. So what I can say is their SOP could be a month before the customers receive the product or the actual vehicles. So you've got to be careful with whatever their master timing plan or schedule. You need to consult with them about when does it start. In theory, another way you could say it is when your PPAP is signed, or when the first parts are shipped, or when the first parts are manufactured. So, for example, if you are, well, the PSW is designed in such a way that it's signed to allow you to manufacture, not to ship. So from the moment you start manufacturing, you have the customer approval for SOP. You could, in theory, say that it starts from that moment. But again, you need to consult with your customers. Some customers are stricter, some customers are looser. It depends on their requirements.
Okay, we have also a question here from Mariam. What's the content of the safe launch control plan? This is nice question. Christopher?
I think that's an interesting one. So this is going to look at your additional controls, which is beyond the actual normal process. So this is your firewall. It's in your firewall, or your quality gate, or your quality inspection shouldn't be anywhere near the production environment. So you should never put your firewall right next to the end of production. And I'm going to tell you why. As a customer, as an OEM, I would always mark suppliers down for this, because what happens is when the end-of-line inspector, the person who finally inspects the product, and let's say that product is a mouse, you know, this is the mouse that you check. If they know someone is checking for them, subconsciously they will stop doing the work. And it's not deliberate. They don't deliberately stop doing it, but it's a thing where they know if there's a mistake, they go, oh, someone else will catch that. That's fine. And it overloads that. The firewall that is in place should be in another building, in another area. The production team shouldn't know there's a firewall there at all. They shouldn't know it exists. You treat that firewall like it is the customer. For every product that gets to that firewall, the customer, it's a failure. It would be a non-conformance. It would be an 8D report. That's what would happen. So it's saying what is the additional checks you're doing. Are they physical inspections? Are they more lab testing? Is it destructive testing and so on? That's what it's for, really. It's specifically talking about the extra controls you're doing above and beyond the normal process.
We have also here another nice question, I think. Is it possible to use the pre-launch control plan and safe launch control plan in parallel?
Yes. Yes, because they start at the same time. They start at the same time. So yes, you'd use them in parallel. So really what you want to do is separate out your normal off-process control in the pre-launch, and your safe launch is the additional checks you're doing above and beyond the requirements of a pre-launch.
What else we have here? Anything on the safe launch control plan should be on the pre-launch or production control plan. Shouldn't be anything new.
I think I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, you are agreeing in principle with the customer upfront what your controls are going to be. Because let's say you're a supplier and you say, well, I'm going to hire an agency, and this agency is going to inspect for me 100%. Great, we've got a really cheap resource and they're going to inspect. But in my experience, if you don't get a good agency and you don't train the agency as if they're your own people, doesn't matter what they check for. You know, they can be your failure point and not be your process itself. They can cause the problems. So I agree in principle that it should be combined, but this is just down to efficiency and different documentation. At the same time, what happens when you get rid of the firewall and then you need to send a new control plan to your customer? Does that mean you need to then sign the PPAP again and have a new PSW? Because that's what should happen. So the safe launch control plan is telling the customer upfront what you intend to do. And then as you move towards SOP plus 90, and let's say your interim PSW and you want to go to full approval, it means that you haven't got to resubmit all documentation or show 2 different versions of documents and stuff like that, and then delete columns out and so on. Because if your process doesn't have a firewall in place and that document you've submitted to the PSW says you have one, and an auditor like AGATA comes to see your process and they say, where's your firewall? Your firewall is missing. And then you say, oh, well, that was only a safe launch stage. You will fail. You will get a problem with that. So that's the reason why it will be separate.
We have also a nice comment from Alejandro Kristen to the question from Kristen about this parallelity of the different control plans. That's true. It's possible to start the safe launch before the production stage. Yes. So exactly like it is. Oh gosh, so many. This is so we have also a comment like this is a form of validation of the controls and the process. What else is happening?
It's kind of like a form of MSA as well. So when you can do MSA on a firewall or in final inspection, so you're validating how effective your final checks are in your process. So that's what it's measuring. It's measuring that. That's essentially what it's doing.
Okay. What is the difference between CTQ and special characteristics, critical to quality and special characteristics? How control plan is cascaded to the shop floor? Oh, this is the question which actually touches the idea of working with the special characteristics. Yes, critical to quality. Different organizations are calling special characteristics differently, like key process indicator, not key process indicator. I'm sorry, I was training last days in the process approach, so I'm completely confused now. It's like special characteristics critical to the quality, yes, CC, CS, SC, and so on and so on. Generally, the idea of special characteristics is actually a crucial approach because now also knowing that it has to be aligned with FMEA and knowing that FMEA now since 4.5 years, almost 5 years, we have a new approach. We change also the mindset. We are concentrating on the severity, especially severity 9 and 10 for the characteristics, which already are indicating that we are talking about the safety or statutory and regulatory requirements. And the idea is that definitely we cannot neglect such characteristics taken from defined actually through FMEA, and it has to be cascaded to another documents working together. And then another one after PFMEA is control plan. From control plan also perspective, we need to cascade to the working instructions and other control documents. And this is also according to the requirements in 8511 in IATF. So please go there to this point and treat exactly, because this is, I would say, on the audit, during the audit, this is low-hanging fruit, always. This is a gap because there are a lot of characteristics, and sometimes the production processes are very, very wide, and sometimes it's difficult for the organization to, pay attention how to work with the characteristics, to have them everywhere. Yes.
I think to add to that, I can add a little bit more from a customer perspective. So,
okay,
all all customers have special characteristics, okay? And they have different names for them. They might have one for fit and finish, gap and flush, that's one. So again, you could say that's CTQ if you wanted to say that's critical to quality. But to help everyone in this, if you deal with OEMs or you're not sure about special characteristics, these are things like safety critical, meaning if it fails, it has a risk of injuring an operator, injuring the person who's assembling it from the customer side, injuring the person who uses the product, or potential death. That's the safety critical side of it. Then you have one down from that, which would be regulatory. This is your legal requirements. This could be emissions. This could be, anything environmental and so on. They're regulatory. Anything that's relevant to your product for regulation. Below that would be things like pass-through characteristics, and then your critical to quality. So in terms of your severity for your FMEAs, you need to look at something like a supplier quality manual. The customer should have some version of their version of APQP, their version of PPAP, which will define what their special characteristics are. In all of the companies I've been in, Nissan had their own version. The Lotus had their own version when I was there, and Charge Cars was the same. In Charge Cars, I defined the requirements of what the definition of a special characteristic was. I'm not going to go into detail every one of them, but basically, from a customer perspective, you need to look and consult with a quality manual or a supplier quality manual of those requirements.
Let's not forget about one small VDA manual regarding special characteristics, because this is the manual which is, I would say, not the most priority one, like maybe VDE 6.3 or PPF or MSA and so on. However, there exists one dedicated to special characteristics. You can also find there some indication how to work with special characteristics, yes, how to designate them, how to apply different strategies, even if we shall indicate special characteristics, because we have the high severity in FMEA, sometimes it happens that we don't have to have special characteristics, and this is always in that manual. Yes, so just if someone is curious, I advise you to get to this small book, not that long, to read how to handle special characteristics. Okay. We have on the way a lot of comments. I don't know which to pick up. Christopher, just have a look on the chat and pick up some questions.
I would say probably when it's saying, so for manufacturers, so is it Mariam? Mariam has said that, so for manufacturers, the safe launch should be done after final control. In which process phase should it be done? Okay, so the safe launch is not just after final control. So you could be doing that inbound logistics, so goods in. You could be doing extra checks on the raw materials or the subcomponents as part of the safe launch. So if you had a control plan step number 10 and that number 10 was goods in, and you could be doing it then. You could be doing it after injection, if we're talking about an injection process. It could be done after a metallization process. It all depends on, let's say the customer is fed back, you have a lot more concerns during your new model development phases within APQP, and they've told you there's been lots of concerns throughout their production trials and tooling trials, then surely in your safe launch process control plan, you'll be saying where you're going to do these extra inspections, these extra validations. And it's not just the end of line or end of process inspection. You need to be doing it at different points within the process of where the weak points are, where they're causing the problems, as well as a firewall. A firewall needs to be in place as well.
Okay, we have also here a nice question. Will be mandatory to have a new format of control plan? Can be non-conformity in the audit. Maybe the organization will have a plan to change. So definitely the starting point is investigate, please, what your customer wants you to have. This is the first. Second, I don't know if on the audit you will get the non-conformity if your customer do not precise what he wants, because then you don't have the criteria. But let's remember audit criteria. But let's remember that always you have IATF if your organization is certified, and we have Annex A, and there are the elements what has to be in such control plan. And even the manual is very flexible in this regard. In this regard, that this template which was presented before can be modified by the organization. And when I'm auditing, I'm really observing that the organizations are adding additional columns, even for the statistics, yes, for the CPK values, and really differently. However, the basic information must be present, yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So from my experience, it's difficult to make suppliers completely change their global templates and so on, especially when it's been embedded into all of the operations. So as I could have said, usually you would have the basic requirements. So where it says the reaction plan and responsible, you need to include that in your document. You need to include the safe launch check or some version of safe launch in it. So usually you can get away with it, but you need to negotiate with your customer. Some customers will say, no, sorry, we pay you for your product. If you want to work with us, you must use the new version of the templates and so on. But you need to consult with them and see what they really want.
I see the comment. Vid is confirming that this manual from VDA about the special characteristics is worth to read. So I recommend to learn a little bit more about special characteristics, because in IATF only the definition in the chapter 3 will be find what actually is the idea of special characteristics. Yes. Okay. What else do we see? Maybe this one. Control plan can be cascaded to shop floor, either directly, operations with control plan on hand, or operator instructions, defining a C control method interaction plan for each step operation. I would say it depends on the internal solutions, how the organization is organizing their work. Of course, in many organizations, control plan is not going to the shop floor. This is a document for the engineering, quality engineering, process engineering, and such information needs to be cascaded in some other documents, like Alejandro, you are writing, like for other documents with which we are confirming the conformity of the products, yes, and the processes. Okay, did I display every questions? Because we have a lot of comments and suddenly
there's a lot, but I think a lot of them are linked with similar requirements.
Maybe the one here. When we close the PSW in this new approach, PSW, it's actually constant, I would say, but we need to refer not to the control plan itself, but to the APQP, because PSW is connected to the closing the validation phase. Yes, when we are sure that we met the requirements and we can go to the customer. But safe launch later can also happen. Christopher, can you comment this more?
I would say it's going to be more linked to it. Again, you need to find out from your customer if that's a requirement for your PSW to be closed. So it could be that it depends again on the risk of your product for safe launch. Some of your customers will say, if you make something like a steering wheel, then it's safety critical. It's directly linked to the operation of the vehicle. So therefore, it needs to be a part of a safe launch. Even if you're the best supplier in the world and you have 0 defects every month and you prove it, you probably will still need to be a part of a safe launch. I suspect your customers will then give you an interim PSW pending a successful safe launch with 0 defects from your firewall and detected in your process. It depends on how severe and how critical your product is and under what regulatory requirements it is also under. But also, if you're a new supplier to them, if you have new technologies or a new process or a new manufacturing site, or you have bad project management in the past historically, or you've caused problems with them in the past, these are all risk points. These are all risky situations. So the safe launch is to reduce the risk and reduce the probability of recall, reduce the probability of stopping the customer's process. So I think it will be linked. I'm pretty sure it will be, based on my experience. In Nissan, certain key suppliers were a part of safe launch. Not everyone had to do that. It all depended on those criteria that I've just mentioned previously. And some of them would not get a full PSW and full tooling payment because they did not achieve safe launch, and they had to keep extending their firewalls and their inspections because they did not perform to the requirements. So again, it's customer by customer. It's requirement by requirement. You need to have those conversations with your customers. Some suppliers, where you've never had a problem, no issue, it might not be applicable to you directly. It all depends on their requirements.
Okay. I'm looking for more questions. What do we see? Oh, there is a question from Mariam. Should a part of defects be included in safe launch control plan?
Should it be included in it? It will be an output documentation to prove, your reduction in defects. It's going to be a part of your normal SPC. So we know that SPC is linked to the control plan as well, of monitoring the process and understanding what your defects are being caused and so on. But it's not in the control plan itself. It'd be a part of the way of method of measurement. You're checking it and then you analyze the defects that are being caused.
Yes, this is the outcome.
Yeah,
I've
an
got.
output. Yeah.
I saw from Anya a nice question. What should be a safe launch for subcontractors? Are we talking here about the outsourcing? Is it about this?
What should be a safe launch from subcontractors? So this is sub-suppliers. So this is maybe tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. Is that what the question is?
Are we going down the supply chain? Because I'm not sure how to answer.
Well, ultimately, from my experience, the tier 1 supplier, which feeds into the OEM, is responsible for all their sub-suppliers. Doesn't matter what level they are. So if you've got to put a firewall in place, an incoming firewall, because if your sub-suppliers are poor performing, or they don't have the capacity, or they're not big enough as a company, then yeah, it's your responsibility as the tier 1 to do that for the sub-suppliers. But if they have the ability to do these inspections and do these additional checks, then they need to do it as well. So if we look at 𝐸𝐴𝐻, it needs to be cascaded throughout the supply chain and entirely. If, like I said, if the tier 2, tier 3, 4, 5 can't do it, the tier 1 must do it.
Okay. I believe I don't see more questions, but nevertheless, we are close to being out of time. So just I see that you appreciate this webinar. You like being with us. So great. So generally, at the end, we see that this webinar, actually last hour webinars organized by QualityWise, are really appreciated by you, and simply you use this knowledge which we are sharing with you. So we simply are very happy that you're visiting our webinars. And generally, if you have any ideas or needs or the suggestions for us, what would you like to hear from us in the future webinars, do not hesitate to contact us either on the chat or in the social media. And we are happy to maybe support you with other topics. Yes. What's more, also we appreciate a lot of people being with us. And if you would like to, develop yourself and strengthen your quality skills, you can join our experts and work with us simply. If you would be interested, just get in touch with us, and we can maybe think how we can cooperate with you. Okay, so generally, we would like to thank you. Really, it was really a pleasure to talk about this. For us, these are really nice and easy topics. We understand it, and we understand that some of you might feel difficulties in understanding these automotive requirements, which are really very, very comprehensive. And we are extremely happy that we can share with you the knowledge. So we see that you like the webinar. Great. There was a question about great and interactive, and also there was a question about the recording. Yes, the webinar you can find on the QualityWise YouTube channel. We keep them there, and you can visit us and see also the previous webinars. Okay. Let us wish you a wonderful evening. If you're here in Europe, in US, you have a middle of the day, I believe. So still enjoy your day, and hope to meet with you in May for a new webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.